Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with co-leader, alto saxophonist, and clarinetist Amy Denio of the Tiptons Sax Quartet and Drums. She opened up about their 2021 CD and 14th album as a group with Wabi Sabi, set to be released on April 2nd, 2021, featuring a wide swath of sound. With this latest release, the internationally renowned all-female saxophone quartet with drums is celebrating over 30 years as a band. Amy talks about this and has thoughts on the pandemic. Get to know her and the band. Enjoy.
Thanks for taking a minute. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So you have a very interesting group here. You've been around for 3 decades, and you have a brand new album, the Tiptons Saxophone Quartet and Drums. Talk to me a little bit about, first of all, an album coming out during a pandemic. How are you feeling about this?
Well, we recorded it in January 2020, and we put it out as a digital download for friends, but we realized that no one's going to be running to record stores because all the record stores are shut. So we decided what we do is wait a year, and especially wait after the election and all the confusion of last year to release the album officially in 2021. It just seemed like a good idea. Let it grow in the belly.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So it's your 14th album, Wabi Sabi, and it's coming out on April 2nd.
That's correct.
Did you try to avoid April 1st intentionally?
We actually did. We thought about it, but we figured maybe the joke would go too far because we have a great sense of humor, and that was a great temptation, actually. But we decided, okay, let's do April 2nd, just to be safe.
Well, here in Kansas City, our opening day for the Royals are going to be on April 1st, and I think we're all still in that fog of, is this really happening, So,
right.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, there's a thought here, when I started doing interviews when the pandemic began, it was like, all right, you're releasing an album, but you can't back it up live. And now I've kind of migrated to the thought that you're releasing an album maybe in lieu of the fact that you can't perform live. Have you thought about that?
Yes, exactly. Because, we had tours planned. We've already canceled tours twice since the pandemic started. So now we're pushing our tour date back to 2022 because we're hoping by then it should be safe to travel and to perform. So yes, it seemed like the best idea, at least now, because the album is recorded almost live. It really feels like it captures the energy of a live performance really well, and so we decided that would be the best plan.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the good thing about this time period of putting out live music is that, bands have always put out live music, but I think there's a special significance to that happening right now.
Yes, indeed.
Talk to me a little bit about what you want the listener to get from this experience, this project, the overall feel. How do you want them to feel?
Well, what we'd like people to feel is complete joy and inspiration, and hopefully that they would start dancing in their living room and experience there's a lot of humor, a lot of just playful interplay between the members. And I think the album for me is a trifecta, I like to say, because I think the material is all really strong. Everyone contributed compositions to this. The playing is great, and the recording is great. So I just feel like it's a really fun example of where jazz can go. So it's not just traditional jazz. It really calls on a lot of different elements of world music, as well as the far reaches of each of our creative imaginations. So we hope that this brings just a lot of inspiration to the listener and helps them, have a better day.
So how did everything begin for you? You've been around for quite a while as a band. Talk to me a little bit about your beginnings and kind of how things started picking out for you.
Well, I remember the first phone call, a lady called me saying, hey, you play saxophone. Do you want to join an all-women saxophone quartet? Because there really aren't very many. This is in 1988. And I said, oh, that sounds interesting. And she said, yeah, because as sax players, we just sit around in rock bands and wait for solos, or jazz bands. You wait for your solo, and then you can take off in a sax quartet. You can play all sax all the time. And I thought, oh, that sounds great. So we began in November of 88 as a sax quartet, just kind of ordering music from catalogs. So it was mostly classical music at first. And then around then, the Kronos Quartet had released their version of Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. And I heard that, and I thought, wait a second, they're a quartet, we're a quartet. Maybe I'll arrange it too. So I began to arrange for the group, and then eventually to compose pieces, and eventually we evolved to having a completely original repertoire and to tour the world by the early 90s. So that's pretty much how it started.
Right on. What's been the whole magic to keeping everybody together and keeping this as kind of a fluid artistic project?
That's a great question, because bands are difficult to keep together. Bands are like marriages compounded logarithmically by how many people are in the band. So we're a quintet. We're 4 saxes and drums. And what keeps us together is, I think at this point, our maturity, our ability to accept each other's differences and to support each other and to be good listeners. I think that really makes a big difference when you have a bunch of egotists in a band. There can be frustrations, like, well, you're not listening to me. In our case, we really care for each other. So there's that. And then also, I just have to say, when we perform, we love to involve the audience, and we love to see community grow vicariously right in front of us. We often walk out into the audience and get people to sing, and we just have a blast when we play a concert. So that's the real payoff, is the direct communication with people when we tour. We really look forward to that possibility coming back.
Right on. What do you miss the most about this COVID world? What is it that you really are longing to get back to?
I would say the creation of spontaneous community, of entering a room and seeing a bunch of strangers, and everyone, not everyone knows each other, and by the end of the night, everyone is united. No matter what their political or religious or whatever beliefs, the music brings people together in the most magical way, and that's something that's, I think, everyone, musician or not, everyone has been missing for it to come back.
So when it does come back, and everybody's back in the audience, and you're back on stage, what do you hope we all realize about this absence of live music?
Well, that we need to keep it alive, and that it is one of the most amazing unifying forces in society. And I know that people have really been feeling a lot of isolation, and I think that the lack of direct contact with live music has contributed to that sense of isolation. So hopefully this will mean that people will try to make a bigger effort to keep music close and keep it alive in their lives.
For the fans of the band that have been around you for years and years and years, what would be the most surprising thing that they may not know about you all as a collective together? They may not realize?
Well, maybe one thing is that we originally started in Seattle as a group, and one by one people chose to live in different cities. So now all 5 members live in different cities, more or less. So that doesn't stop us from getting together, and it means we work really hard when we do see each other. It's like, okay, we have 6 new charts to work out, and we work them out in a day or two, and then over the course of a tour begin to understand better what the new compositions are. So it means that what we like is that it demonstrates it's possible to have a band even if you don't all rehearse every week and see each other every week. It's been a challenge, but we've risen to that challenge, and we love it. The band is it's so special. We love it.
So what's the future? You've been around for 3 decades. Are you going to pass this on to kids? What's the future of the band?
Well, the immediate future is that we recently received some money for a project that we're developing with a Latin American duo that's based in Seattle. And the project is called Mujer o Bruja, which is woman or witch. And we're looking at the history of the role of women in Mexico from pre-Columbian times to the present day. That's our immediate goal right now. Is we have a grant that we have to fulfill to create a bunch of new music based on Mexican culture. So that'll be really an excellent learning curve for us. And then actually this week we're also going to meet with an architect who works a lot with raising consciousness about homelessness and trying to demystify homeless people to the general public. So we're hoping to create another project about that. As for the long term, yes, we teach a lot in schools, and it's great to see students saying, I'm going to take up the saxophone now. And, often they're young girls. When I was a young girl, flute was the option, or maybe clarinet. Saxophone, no way. And so we've seen over the last 30 years that more and more young girls are playing saxophone, and it doesn't matter if boy or girl. I don't care as long as you're playing music. That's what matters. But so we hope to set an example that it is possible to follow your dream and to be a creative musician for your entire life.
Wonderful. That's a very triumphant way to wrap everything up. Amy, thank you for talking on behalf of the band, taking a minute out. Good luck with everything, I guess, in the immediate with the Tundra and the return to live music.
Wonderful. Yeah. All the best to you, Joe. It's great to meet you. Chat. Take care.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Seattle, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Amy for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.